Welcome back, it's game design with Vilehyperion time, and aside from not being able to decide on the subject matter, this is releasing later than usual as my time has been consumed by another black hole, Valheim. For those unaware, Valheim is an early access survival game, a term I'm sure sends shivers down the spines of those who value their money, but given that I've lost quite a lot of time to this game in a very short period indicates that this game is amazing. This game has a lot going for it, from an interesting premise to a simple yet fun combat system. However, despite these things, one aspect stood out to me the most, and that's Valheim's approach to progression. Ironically, one of the things that turns me off survival games the most are the little tedious tasks you have to do, else you'll die. Drinking water, else you'll die. Eating food, else you'll run out of stamina and die. At some point I just ask myself, why am I doing all this? If there is no answer, I'm asking Steam for a refund. A lot of the time what carries these survival games are the progression. Look at Minecraft, one of the most popular games of all time. Survival mode is partly engaging because you want the next best thing. You get wood tools for stone tools for iron, etc. It's a very simple example, but that's the way survival games keeps things interesting, as no one wants to play Eat or You'll Die Simulator, as that's just life. The eating and not dying is made tolerable because you're pushing for the next set of armor, or next weapon. Valheim definitely cuts back on the tedious staying alive aspects, but the main reason I've become so addicted is to progression. I understand that other games also nail progression. Terraria is a game that immediately comes to mind, but Valheim very clearly lays out the core principles that make up great progression, and creating what I believe to be one of the greatest progression systems in a very long time. Valheim is a Norse-themed survival game. We're talking Vikings, longships, and genuinely terrifying sea serpents. Along with this comes bosses that are vitally important to the rest of the game. As of writing, the game has 5 of them, each requiring a decent grind. These bosses are important to the progression. There is a particular order in which you must take them out. This is because upon killing a boss, you receive an important item. As you start the game, you naturally start beating trees with your bare hands, and the best weapon you can make is flint weaponry, from pieces of flint off the ground and the wood you just assaulted. Your arsenal is limited. You have but a spear and an axe to defend yourself. Though puny, these flint tools will be all you need to defeat the first boss. Once slain, the boss drops antlers, which are used to craft a new type of tool, a pickaxe. Finally, you're able to start mining tin and copper, which fused together creates bronze, finally allowing swords and shields. With your bronze gear, you're able to take on the second boss, who drops a swamp key. These swamp keys grant access to sunken crypts, home to iron, which allows you to craft, get this, iron tools, making you ready for the third boss. Upon killing the third boss, you get a wishbone, allowing you to locate silver, which then moves your gear up one more notch. With your silver gear, you fight boss number 4, which drops dragon tears, allowing the creation of a blast furnace, opening the world up to the delights of black metal. And the final boss is the final one, so there's no need to go any further. The bosses act as progression pillars, providing you with a constant goal in which to work towards, giving you a reason as to why you're grinding for the next best armor, or even simply giving you a reason as to why you're getting food to stay alive. Everything builds up to the goal of killing the next boss in order to get the next best set, as well as providing constant motivation to get the next gear. Having progression hinge on killing a boss makes it feel earned. You don't just find iron after making bronze that's not just instantly given to you. You earn iron by killing a giant tree. It makes reaching the next step feel rewarding as well as satisfying. The boss fights themselves can get pretty hectic, but they are a lot of fun. So you're not grinding to grind some more, there's a bit of context to the grind as you're building up to defeat this boss. Plus there's a little payoff when you finally slay the boss. An issue I have with a game like Minecraft is that all you need to do to get the next best thing is find it. As long as you find the ores in a certain order, you can just take it. Just finding the next tier of weapons has a payoff that is made insignificant by you first needing to slay an actual dragon. So bosses make progression in Valheim feel earned and rewarding. They also provide a constant goal in which to work towards. Another aspect of Valheim's progression that they nail is making you feel like you're progressing. What I mean by this is that each tier of weapons feels unique in more ways than one. The armor and weapons aren't just recolors of the previous set. Each set looks unique and distinct, like the wolf's cape having a wolf's head attached to it. On top of this, progressing to the next tier of gear starts providing different effects, like silver armor finally allowing you to travel through the mountain biomes with ease, making you feel like you've made a significant step forward in the game. Moreover, the game doesn't allow you to create every type of tool from the first material that allows the creation of tools. The pickaxe, sword, and shield are all locked behind the first boss, so killing it doesn't merely give you access to slightly more powerful tools, but grants you brand new tools altogether, which again makes progression feel even more significant. You now having access to metal and proper weapons, both things that remained out of reach with flint tools. Another thing Valheim does to increase the significance of progression is having each set of gear revolve around a new biome. Killing the first boss has you move into the Black Forest, as that's where the tin and copper can be found. Killing the second boss has you move into the swamp, as that's where iron can be found, etc. Each new location comes with its own set of threats, including new enemies and hazards to look out for. For example, the swamp is the most prominent introduction to the poison status effect, something that you barely, if at all, encountered beforehand. Also, the mountains are too cold to traverse without frost resistance or silver armor. Such impediments are not found in other biomes. Each biome has a whole cast of new and unique enemies. The Black Forest starts you off with primitive enemies that resort to throwing rocks, contrasted with the dragons and stone golems you'll be dealing with in the mountains. So each new stage of metal has the player travel to a completely new place, filled with completely new hazards, which provide each progression tier with its own unique feel and switches up the game, which both makes it feel fresh and of course more significant to progress. This aspect is made more significant by the fact you can't fast travel with metal. I originally thought this was made to make the ships feel more relevant throughout your playthrough, even past you using them to explore. However, now I feel you not being able to fast travel with metal was a decision made to encourage players to move their setup to the biome that housed the next new material. Doing so would make obtaining the next level of gear a lot easier, but in the eyes of the developers it would give an even more distinct feel to each level of progression. As you've completely changed the environment and biome you'll spend the majority of your time in, allowing each new age an even more distinct feel. So it seems the limitation has been put in place to funnel the player into having more of a unique experience, which is reminiscent of Doom Eternal's gameplay loop. If you don't do as it says, you'll be left behind, but do exactly as it says and you'll have an amazing time. These games have faith in themselves. So Valheim's progression nails providing motivation to continue, making the player feel rewarded for progressing and ensuring progression feels significant. These are the aspects that I believe make up a great progression system, and while I did relate a lot of them to other survival games, these principles can work in most genres of games to elevate their progression systems. Ensuring how a player progresses is good is very important, as it encourages the player to keep going. Though if it ends up carrying an experience, it can hurt the replayability. So while a good core gameplay loop is more important than great progression, Valheim shows the true power of a truly good progression system.